question to all of y'all, especially the girls in the classroom, so if there's only one guy, is, has anyone ever felt uncomfortable walking around campus during the dark at night? Okay. Personally, I have also felt uncomfortable walking back whenever my computer broke early in the semester from the library. Around 1 a.m., it's kind of a sketchy time in the middle of campus, and as we all know, the buses stop running, and their buses lower the amount of buses that run throughout the night. And sometimes you can end up waiting for 20 minutes for a bus, and it's not the safest time. So it is pretty unsafe, and it's pretty unsettling to have to know that you're having to walk across campus, especially if you're alone. And something that a lot of people don't realize, 6% of college females report being raped or sexually assaulted throughout their college time. Another thing that isn't commonly known is only 32 out of 100 rapes throughout the entire country get reported. This means that 6% is probably a lot higher than what actually happens. The next thing is, I took the time yesterday and the day before to measure the time it takes to get from the library to the bus stop, which is only 5 minutes, but again, sometimes you can be waiting 20 minutes at the bus stop, so it's probably around 25 minutes is your average time until you get to the bus and when you leave. It takes 21 minutes to walk from the library entrance to Crossings entrance. That is going through a lot of dark areas on campus. And it takes 11 minutes to get from the clubhouse near the Cove and the Village to get to the Crossings entrance as well. Again, that goes actually completely off the path of UNF's campus where all the blue lights are until you get to the Crossings entrance. So there isn't even any blue lights from Cove to Crossings. So these are the pictures I took around this. This is in front of the theater, and actually something I didn't really know until I was taking the time to actually realize there are only 2 of the emergency blue lights on this path. You pretty much around the center, over here, no, there's not. So over there in the center there's a blue light off the path, and then all the way on the other side there is a blue light. And another thing, there's a person sitting right there. I don't know if y'all can see that. There's a guy just kind of sitting on the edge by himself, just there. I walked with another person, and that freaked both of us out that there was just someone sitting there. And that is walking from the clubhouse to Crossings. As you can tell, there is no blue light. There is no one really there. And it's right next to the woods, which is, for anyone that's ever watched a horror film or SVU knows that's probably not the safest area to walk on. That is walking towards the library, and again, there are a lot of open areas that are dark and kind of creepy. It's another angle from the library of where you're walking. And then this is directly outside the library, next to a parking lot. So we all know that there's a little darkness in campus, and it can be unsettling. Even if you're not actually going to get attacked, it still kind of freaks me out. Yesterday I was walking with someone, and anytime I heard a little noise, it kind of freaked me out because it was 9 o'clock at night. And while it's not technically late, it's still completely dark outside. So everyone should be concerned about this problem, because even if you yourself are not walking, there are 16,000 people enrolled in classes, part-time or full-time, on this campus in undergraduate or graduate school. This means that there are probably statistically 8,000 females on campus. No matter what age group you're in, you're still at risk for being attacked, and most likely 90% of that group is going to be a little worried walking alone on campus or with other people. So it is a problem, even if there isn't actually attacks happening on campus. There are attacks happening on a lot of college campuses across the country, and there have been ways to go around it, one of which is the bus system, which I will come back to in a minute. This is our bus route. If you can see, there is this is the Osprey connector that goes throughout campus, goes on the east, so it goes on the east side of campus on that road, and then there is a bus stop that stops here at the library and goes to Town Center. That only stops at the library and then goes to Town Center and drops back off at the library. However, as you can see, and this is zoomed in, that goes to Flats and then the Hicks Hall outside. And then this shows a zoomed in picture of the other side. As you can see, all of these places on campus, you have to walk through buildings, through hallways to get back. I mean, not through buildings, you have to walk in between buildings, through overways and to get to any of the bus stops. And some of them are across the street and they're kind of surrounded by the woods that, as a general note, students tend to love that it's kind of a pretty campus, but at the same time can also be dangerous. I came up with another bus route that I personally feel is the best solution to this problem. And it is having the buses do the same route right here, but splitting off, having one bus obviously labeled differently, having the name where it says Osprey Connector on the back and the electronic wedge changed to being another name. That, of course, is not relevant to the solution. Having it split off, and then the first stop is stopping right here. It is a little blurry, but this is the Osprey Clubhouse, which for crossing students, which most of us are honor students, and most of us have probably lived in crossings or are currently living in crossings, that is where our mail is held. So if you're walking to and from there, it can be unsafe at night. And then the second stop is the library, which personally is the most important stop. The other one that I did not label on here that could be a potential stop is also the police department. That's right over here. If there's no bus stop to get there, there's nothing other to do than walk or drive to the police station if you want to report an incident, or the lost and found is also there. And personally, the first week of school, I lost my keys and they were reported to the police station. My car keys were also on my keys, so I couldn't drive there, so I had to walk to the police station. And again, you're going on the side of the road. So even if it's not nighttime, it's still a dangerous place to walk. So that's not as necessary as the library and the clubhouse in my personal opinion, but it is also something that needs to be considered. So personally, like I said, before I walked by myself when my computer was broke earlier in the semester from the library to crossing. And although walking with someone else took me 21 minutes, it took me 45 minutes to get back because I was walking slower, I was looking around corners, because it freaked me out a little bit to be walking by myself. So this is not, problems that can be seen from this is excessive cost. This is not an excessive cost because Troy University, as seen on colleges.us.news.rankings.interviews.com, they have about 1,000 students less than we do, and they are a public university as well, which means they will have about the same amount of funding on campuses because they have to charge relatively around the same amount of fees. Which means they have a bus system that they have multiple routes, as you can see, the different colors, that go throughout campus, that go around campus, and they have multiple different routes. And so the second problem that can be caused is confusion with students. Obviously, if it's seen in Troy University, also seen in the University of Virginia with all of the colors that they have for all of these different routes, that it's not confusing for them. And the University of Wisconsin, this is an example of how the website should be formatted, is they show all of the different routes. They have 5 different routes right here, and they have a nighttime service route which is specific, which our university does not have. They have the same route throughout the school week, and they just limit the amount of buses at night, which again is a problem. So that one shows a website that can obviously be managed with having multiple buses. And the University of Michigan also has multiple bus routes. As you can see, they have a lot of different bus routes. Those examples just show how plausible and how probable it actually is to have multiple bus routes throughout campus, which can be seen as a problem, that it would be confusing, there would be an excessive cost, but as seen, it's not really that confusing to students, and it's not that much of an excessive cost. The other problem that might be seen with this is the idea of the blue lights. The entire purpose for, as said on tours for the UNF campus, we have blue lights so it can be a safe campus. We have them all over campus. As I mentioned earlier, around the green, there are only 2. There's one near the library entrance, but the idea is that with the blue lights, that if you're getting chased or something, you can run and press the light every time you pass it, and they can track where you're going. The police, and they will be there soon. The problem with that is if the blue lights are so far away, it doesn't provide that safety because, as seen, there are a lot of corners, there are a lot of trees, there are a lot of things that people can hide behind that necessarily you won't be able to hit a blue light in time, especially if they're that far away. So the other idea besides the bus route is changing the blue lights, and honestly, that's not much of a difference, and there won't be much of a difference in cost or anything with that. So those are the three problems that most people will find with having the two bus routes. As I've demonstrated, they're not a real problem. So to paint a picture for y'all, UNF is a safe campus. UNF is not under that list of like the top 10 least safe amount of campuses in the country. We don't want to get there. The problem is we are still a young school, which means that we still need to develop and we still need to move with the times to being able to get the less crime rate, which we are successfully getting right now, but also we want our students to feel safe. I don't want to feel unsafe on my campus at any time in the day. And with this change, that won't happen. Without this change, there is a chance that crime rate will increase on campus, which none of us want. The school doesn't want, because it will greatly lower their press, and it will greatly lower probably the amount of admissions and applications they get in, which no school wants. Then, crimes could increase, which will make all students and parents a lot more unsettled, which of course we wouldn't want. So, what I propose for y'all to do is to email. I'm going to email later tonight after I get back. Email parking@unf.edu, and if my solution works for you, then great, email them that. If not, come up with your own solution and come up with your own way to fix this problem, because no matter which solution it is, the problem needs to be fixed before it becomes a greater problem on campus. Are there any questions?
I mean, you showed that map with the bus line on there, you know, and you could add more stops along the way, you know, more stops like all along campus and at the clubhouse and the library, but that still doesn't really solve the problem of having to go through campus and through the dark buildings to get to where you're going.
My idea behind that was that if there was a bus route that was properly available, especially at the stops that most people are going at night, which is the Pita Pit and the clubhouse and the library, which are the stops that most people are going to make throughout campus, is that there will be a bus stop directly next to them, because the buses stop at a certain time, and I do not think that they need to be run 24/7, because that's not really realistic or really necessary in my opinion. They stop at the same time the library stops, closes however, which means that there's a probability that if you leave close to the time that the library closes, you're not going to get to a bus stop, which means you're going to have to go through campus.
Right.
But if there's a bus stop right next to the library, it's a lot more probable to be able to stop.
I know you didn't really stay on the train all the time, but you said something about the guy sitting there. Is that something that you would want to fix? Because you can't really
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
That was just something I pointed out because it was a while ago that I walked the campus on my own. So doing it last night, it kind of reminded me. So that was more of a personal narrative with that showing how it kind of is a little creepy. And there were people
really like tell people not to sit
No,
there.
that's not probable at all to. The campus is supposed to be open for students to be on campus anytime that they want to be. However, it doesn't really solve the unsettling feeling knowing that you have to go through that. That's why I want there to be another option, so if you are unsettled by people being on campus, that you can go a different way home.
So you mentioned that the blue lights are sort of designed to be like a step ecosystem. Blue lights are actually part of a network of 320 phones on campus that are from inside the building and on the outside. There's different boxes, but not all poles. So there are actually more emergency phones than it seems like there are. They're just not all poles. So do you think that it would be better to have it be all poles and have it be a system where you run a distance? Because currently they act as a phone. If you hit that button, it doesn't actually just like send off a siren. It just connects you like a phone.
Yes, it does. Two comments on that. But at the same time, if you are being chased, what I was told by my tour guide and when my dad looked it up online because he's a little paranoid about me living on my own, is that the idea is if you are running, even if it's as a phone, they're going to know, okay, someone hit the button here. Oh, and there's another button here where no one was. And so it's not the design of it to be able to do that, but that's also the clause. The other comment is the fact that I honestly didn't know that there were phones, which personally tells me that most students probably just don't.
Your tour guide was supposed to tell you.
What?
I was a tour guide. They're supposed to tell you.
Yeah, and like on my tour guide, I went on 2 tours actually, and I was not mentioned, which kind of tells me that if that is going to be a solution, that's what the idea is, instead of having the blue lights, and it's be more widely known what it is. And I agree that the blue lights are helpful and having those phone systems are good. But if something is happening, it needs to be able to use not just a phone, but it needs to be able to let them know where you are. Any other questions?
You mentioned contact and parking for the bus route, but how would be contact for more blue lights? Because you said that there are only two. Like, are you wanting more, or are you wanting?
Personally, I think the bus route is the first step, and the blue lights, like Abby mentioned, they're not really designed. The sole purpose isn't to get it where you can like chase it and everything. I do think that there needs to be more, but I don't think that's the present issue that needs to be addressed first and foremost. I think that getting it where you have a bus route, because as I showed, most schools have multiple bus routes and have it where it's easily accessible and you don't have to go across campus and you don't have to go through campus. So I think solving that will lead to the possibility in the future of solving the other issues relating to preventing fear within the students. Any other questions? Okay, I wanted to thank all of y'all for listening to my presentation and for the possibility that you guys are going to help me and solve this problem with fear, spreading fear around campus and what we want to prevent that.